Hi everybody, this is Chris Feehan from the ECG Armory. I'm here today working on the belt. I'm going to try to do it from start to finish. And what I've started doing this morning, and I'm sorry I missed the beginning of it here, I was putting in some Chicago screws to hold the belt. I figured that would be a better idea than using the rivets, because as you saw last week, the rivets are kind of hard to get out. What I'm doing here is I put Chicago screws. I made the holes a little bigger. Put Chicago screws in instead of the rivets. And I just hit it with some CA glue and some kicker so that they harden instantly. So that I'll be able to turn the screws and that the posts will stay in place and not turn underneath these covers. So today we're going to go through the rest of this. I'm going to wipe this down now that I put the CA glue and the kicker on there. And we're going to see if we can get the belt completely finished today. So let me just wipe this down. Again, this is just some kicker I put on there. I put the CA glue. That's all going to be covered up by the little covers, the little covers that we use on the front of the belt. So I'm not as concerned with some of the warping that can happen with the CA glue and some of the white residue, because it's going to be handled by being covered by those other pieces. Okay, so that's looking very good. Again, I put in a little CA glue. I used some kicker to instantly harden it. So now we have these posts that are permanently in there, and I can actually unscrew these back pieces from the Chicago screws and make sure that we'll be able to get them off in the future. Now, after I'm done with this, I'm going to try to also do the shoulder bells, the biceps, and the forearms. Just get those snaps in there, and I'm going to do a sped up video of taking off all the tape from the other ones that I've done, so I can recover the magnets and everything and use them for the biceps and the forearms. Okay, so we got that off. This kicker, by the way, is just like a baking soda solution, and it just instantly hardens that glue, so you don't have to wait for it to harden. It's a little messy there, but again, this cover will cover this entirely. I'm just going to use some E6000 and cover that. So it doesn't matter what it looks like here, because it's going to be nice and flush on the back. Okay, so let's get this started here. We already got the belt. We already have the middle hole done. This belt varied a little because we had shown that the size was a little different from the Anavos belt I took this from. So we're going to find the center point here. And now, because I have this post in here, I'm just going to unscrew that, stick that in the middle hole, and I should be able to just easily screw that back on. And I'm not going to screw it on that tight, I'm just going to screw it on just to hold it in place. And that way, again, I can remove this if I ever need to in the future, if I need to replace the belt down the line. Now what I want to do is pull this tight and mark exactly where this post is going to go. There is already a hole here that I may be able to reuse that looks like somebody had tried to do a hole here. I think I'm going to go a little further. And you want this to be kind of taut, but not too taut. Let me mark that with a pencil so we know where we're going to go. So I'm just pulling this here. I'm going to find exactly where that hole is supposed to be with this in the middle. I'm thinking it's going to be about here. Let me use my silver Sharpie, because that way I can see it a little better. Okay, so I've marked where that hole is going to be, and I'm going to look over here and carefully pull this taut right in the middle and see where this hole is going to land. Looks like it's going to be about here. So I'll make those holes. Now the other thing we have to do is put the snaps behind here that are going to connect to the chest plate, the lower abdomen plate. And I want to line that up and get those put in as well. I have my snap tool ready. So I'm going to lay the belt exactly where it's going to lay, and then see where these snaps are going to end up. So let me keep that right in the middle and kind of feel where those snap plates are going to be, where the snaps have to go. And I'm going to mark that with a Sharpie as well, right at the middle point. Just holding this taunt, getting my Sharpie, and I'm marking right in the center where that snap is going to land. Okay, that snap is going to land there. Make sure that that's still lined up here. Hold on. That's right in the center of that, and I'm going to hold this steady as I check where the other snap is going to land. I'm going to feel the middle point of the snap here. Let me see. Okay, and that's where that snap is going to land. So what I'm going to do is put two snaps where I've made those two silver marks. And let me make sure they look kind of equal. Yes. So that's where we're going to attach the belt, and that's physically going to hold the belt in place as we do the Velcro on the back, and it will stop it from slipping up and down. So I'm going to put those snaps in right now so we can kind of line up exactly where we want the drop boxes to land. So I'm going to use the hole puncher thing here and just punch a hole right where the snap is going to go. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Right where that silver mark is. Okay, now I'm going to get my snaps. I put aside some of the female snaps that are going to be used for this. And I have my snap tool ready to do that as well. Okay, so we're going to want this snap to go like this. Go through that hole. And this will be hidden by the front plate, so I'm not concerned that it's silver. This is the one that I'm not going to have to paint or anything. Okay, so now I'm just going to crimp that. And make sure that snaps in place appropriately. Okay, that snaps in nice. I'm going to do the other side. Make sure that's reaching. I want it to be tight, not too tight, but nice and tight, and it looks like it is. Nice tight fit there. And then it's landing right in the middle, which is what I want this to land, right in the middle here. And I want a nice tight fit, and this is pretty tight. I had to pull it a little bit to get it to fit in there. And it gives me a little room behind it to put the other straps. Let me get another snap. Put that through the hole and get that crimped down as well. And that made a nice ring. Let me see if I can get this on here now. Okay, there we go. So now we have the snaps in there. When we push this down, this is going to carry this all the way around, and it's going to make it nice and flush with the suit. In a very nice position. Right up against the control box here, which is nice. That's perfect. Okay, so now we're just going to take that off. And now we'll work on doing those last two holes to connect the belt. Now I'm not going to actually connect the belt because I want to do one more thing, which is work on the drop boxes. Now again, I could use the Anavos ones I have here. I'm going to see how they look here, just to line them up. I'm going to put this through and see how this is shaping up. As you can see, the finish is a little different, but I do like the size of these boxes as opposed to the size of the ones for the Walt kit. And these are going to land somewhere around here, because I want them to be flush with the end as much as possible. So I can leave them right here, and I could actually put a little glue or a little snap behind there to hold them in this position. But I think they're looking pretty good. I kind of like them with this belt, and because this is a little bigger, I think I like this size better, and I already have the straps on them, so I might leave them like that. So let me put that one in place and see where we're going to make this other hole. And let me see if I can use the tool to make the hole. I might be able to squeeze this through and make a nice clean hole through there. Let me see if I can do that. We're bunching this up a little bit. I think I can actually get that through there. Gotta make it a little higher than what it looks like here. I want to get a little above where I made the mark. Okay, got a nice hole there. Let me take off the Chicago screw and put it through and see if we can make it all the way through. I might have to make that hole a little bigger with a drill here, because there is a ABS plastic behind this belt. And I have to make sure the hole is big enough to fit that. Let's see if we can get that through now. Try to work that through. I don't want to make it much bigger. I like it to be nice and tight. I can just about see the hole. Let's see if I can get that Chicago screw in there. Okay, I'm not going to send that all the way home. I'm just going to tighten that by hand. Okay, that's looking very good. Now again, I can secure this drop box later once I decide exactly where I want it. I want it about there. We'll see how it looks on the armor itself and go from there. Let's put the other one on the other side. Slip this on. And let's see where this hole is going to land now. Again, where I made the mark is about right, so it comes out exactly in the middle. I'm going to use my tool to make that hole. Again, I'm going to try to squish this up a little bit, get to where I got to get to. I can just about reach. And I'm probably going to have to do the same thing, because again, there's ABS plastic behind there. I got to make sure that hole is big enough to fit the Chicago screw. Okay. Let's see if we can get that hole, through that hole. Taking off the head here. I should be able to work that through now that I got widened the hole a little. I'm not poking through. Let me see if I can use a little screwdriver. Just to Move some of the fabric away here. I think I have to widen it a little more. Hold on. Get some of that extra material out of there. And now I can see the Chicago screw head. Get the fabric out of the way. You can see I'm getting it just poking through now. I'm going to put the head on there. Get a flat screwdriver and see if I can screw that in a little tighter. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to tighten these a little bit, just hand tight, just so we can see how that's looking. So there we go with, they're attached now. We got the drop boxes. Again, the drop boxes are moving a little bit. I'm going to put a little something to stop that from happening. I can put a little glue or a little tape to keep them in place. But I kind of like them being able to float a little so I can decide at the last moment exactly where I want to put them. Okay, now the last piece we got to do on this is the holster. And this is a holster I have that's a pleather holster that's pretty beefy. It's got a little padding to it, so it looks very, very nice, and it's soft. It's not as rigid as a real leather one. And this has got to go on the left side, so let me just make sure I got this lined up correctly. If I got the drop boxes down there, this is going to have to go on the left side facing this way. And we're going to have to attach this with Chicago screws from behind. So this is a similar method of what we just did for this, but we're going to have to just do two and make sure that they're just on the bottom. So we're only going to be able to use two Chicago screws right at the bottom. I'm going to try to catch that plastic. So let me mark exactly where I'm going to have to put those. Now this should be about an inch or so away from the belt, and it will lay on my left side. So we're going to make sure that we have that secured. Let me just make sure we're lining up everything right here. Okay, that's looking good. Let's just see where this is going to land. Now we want to have this hanging down about a 1/4 inch or so from there. So I've got to just figure out exactly where this is going to land. Now what I might do is, usually I would snip these, but this one just fits. So I might just leave those behind the belt for a little extra stability, and that'll also help to keep it in place. Let me see exactly where I'm going to put this. And we want to put the Chicago screws about here. So let me just mark where I'm going to put those on the belt, and we can drill the holes, and then I'll get the proper Chicago screws. And because this belt's a little larger, I'm actually going to put this a little closer to the belt itself. I'm going to put it right up against the belt. Okay, so we're going to want to put one here. We're going to want to put one right about here. Let me just make sure I got that right. Okay, so that's where we're going to put our Chicago screws. Now you're only allowed to put one Chicago screw on the bottom. That should be enough to hold it. They're very beefy. They're very good at holding items. So I think we're going to be okay. The hole where I'm going to put the hole there. That's where we're going to put the hole there. Let me make sure that's lining up right. Okay. So we're going to punch holes here, we're going to punch holes there, and then we're going to put Chicago screws through them. So let's get that going. Make sure, again, that's on the left side. Yep, that's the left side. We want to make sure that we have the holster there. And let's poke those holes. Again, I might have to widen these a little bit because there is ABS plastic behind here. That's a nice clean hole. Nice clean hole there, and then we're going to do the same on the holster itself in the same two spots. I'm going to go right through both. And so actually, should I just do the front? I'm just trying to decide something here. Let me make sure this is lined up properly. I could go just through the front, and that would hide the back Chicago screw. I'm wondering if that would be strong enough. It should be. That might be a good idea. That way I don't have to go through so much material. Yeah, the other way I'm going to have both straps. I think I'm going to go through both. Okay, so I'm going to go right through here. I might have to use a larger Chicago screw to do that. Get right in the middle. Okay, it's a nice clean hole. It's a little small, but that should be good. I'm going to again have to probably widen it with the drill. I'm going to do this one at that same place, right in the middle. Okay, now also as you know, I'm going to have to clean this out. Let me get my little tool here. I can wait on that, but I have to clean out my my little thing here because it's going to get stuck. Okay, now I have a little collection of Chicago screws. I have different dimensions, different widths, different lengths, and I'm probably going to need a medium one, which is this one here, with a head, with a screw head. Let me get the two screw heads out. The two medium length Chicago screws. This should be thick enough to get through all that material. And let me get my screwdriver, my drill ready to just widen these holes a little bit. Hopefully that'll be big enough to get through the Chicago screw. And let me do the same here. Just get rid of any excess material in there. Making a nice clean hole all the way through. Now this material is kind of stretchy, so it should be able to stretch a little bit. Okay. Let's see if I can get the first one through. I have to get it through all the way in the back. Okay, there we go. Now, these are definitely the right size. These are the medium ones. I think this is going to reach all the way through. And these are going to have to be painted. We'll do that at the final step when we get to the painting. Okay, so now I got 2 Chicago screws there poking through. Let me carefully flip this over. That's why I'm using my towel today. I don't want to scratch this if I can avoid it. And now we have to lay this here and try to get this through these holes. We'll try one hole at a time. This should stretch. Yep, it's stretching right over it. See if I can get that one. Oh, it just about makes it. I like that. It's a nice tight hole. That's very good. Okay, let me push that in with a screwdriver. Just make sure I get it all around. Just get all that material away from the head there. And I'm going to just put this right in there. And this will secure it very neatly. And that's gonna not go anywhere. I'm gonna do the same on this side here. And that went right through. Let me get this one, see if I can get this one all the way through. And we'll get the head on there. And tighten it down just a little bit. Now again, I like the solution because, again, it's removable down the line. If I decide I want to swap this out for a full leather holster, I could do that. Okay, so there you have it. The belt's pretty much completely constructed with the holster in place. The only other thing I have to do now is put the covers on, which I'll do. And I just got to make sure I clean this off and get those covers on. So let me just carefully put this aside. Put the Velcro on. So I can just concentrate now on getting the glue on these little covers to cover these Chicago screw heads. Okay, so I got my covers here. Let me make sure I got all 3. It's 1, 2, here's the 3rd one. Make sure I got that handy. There it is. Okay, let me get all my covers together and just lay them in place. So that's what it's going to look like. Let me get my glue ready and get some magnets. I'm just stealing some magnets from one of the other ones that we were waiting to dry. I should have enough to hold these. Let me just see how these are going to hold with magnets, because we are going through a very large area here. And I just want a little pressure, not a ton, but just enough to keep it in place. Let me see if this is going to hold. This should, actually with the Chicago screw, I think that's magnetic, so it should hold that down. And it does hold it down very nice. That'll hold it right in place as it's drying, so I can make sure I get it nice and centered and everything's copacetic there. Okay, so we want to get that directly in there. I'm going to do the same. I'm just lining it up just so I can get an idea. This is nice because these actually are sticking right to the Chicago screws and providing some magnetism right through the Chicago screws, which is nice. Okay, again, just lining it up, making sure I got everything in the right places, and that these little magnets are going to be able to hold this. I might have to use 3 of these little ones instead of 2. Put another one here. I'll put another one here. And that seems to be holding it really nice and steady. Okay, let me make sure I have an area over here I'm going to put this. I'm going to take it, I'm going to lay it right down over there right after I do the glue. So let me get the glue ready, and I'll leave the glue out so we can do the other parts, the shoulder bells and the biceps and the forearms next. Now this one's just about out. This one's probably got about 20% left. Let's see if I can just use this last one here to do this with a cap. Okay, I'm just going to cut my cap. Okay, I'm going to put a glob right in the back and then just some on the edges. So it's basically just going to be a glob right in the middle. Let me see which is the nicest top of this. Probably this side here. I'm going to put a glob right in the middle. And then I'm just going to put some around the edges here. I'm very generous with this because this is going to harden and be like, again, like rubber cement. I'm just going to put a little around the edges so that it has a nice seal. And I'm putting a ton right in the middle because that's where I wanted to connect with the post there. Okay, let me get the glue over here. Let me lay that down as accurately as I can. Dead center here. And just by eye, I'm just going to manipulate it and make sure it's as close to centered as I can get it. And then I'm going to put the magnets here, and that should hold it as it dries in the exact spot that I just put it. Okay, I'm going to do the same with the middle here. Let me take those magnets off. Again, I'm being very generous because I like to make sure that these things stay. So I'm going to put a huge glob right in the middle and then do a little on the edges. And that should hold it. And gravity should do the rest. It should pull this down and create kind of a seal there. I'm almost filling up this entire thing with glue, basically. And this glue is very flexible, so it should be able to handle the flexing as this belt gets flexes, hopefully. If not, we'll have to try a different solution. I'm going to try to get this off without making too many lines here, too many strings. Okay, let me find the best. But I'm going to try to get that dead center in the middle here. I have to maneuver that a little bit. It's looking good. Unfortunately, I got a little glue here I'm going to have to wipe off before it sets. So let me just hold that in place and wipe that glue off. A little bit Must have been on my finger. I just got it off. Okay, let's get that right in the middle. I'm just doing it by eye, making sure that's as dead center as I can get it between the two things and top and bottom. I'm going to put the magnets on top there just to hold it. That looks good. Okay, let's do the last one. And I think that's just about the end of this tube of glue. I think I'll just get enough out of here to finish this one. Let me just fill that up again. Get a nice glob right in the middle. I got a little on my fingers here. I got to get that off. Get those strings on here. I'm going to get the strings out of here. And let me see the best side here. That looks pretty good. And that looks good. So we're going to lay that right again. Right over here. Try to get that centered as best as possible. Up and down before I send it home here. Now look at the other side. Make sure we got it centered. Just pressing down a little, making sure it's right in the middle and that's straight. I'm going to put a magnet right on the top there, and then I'm just going to carefully take this entire assembly and just let that dry. So the belt is in essence completely done. Now it's just a question of waiting for it to dry. Which is a lot of these processes is just waiting in between steps. And again, I think this glue has just about had it, so I'm actually going to get the other glue and change the cap here. I'm going to take this off and just put it on this other one that still has a good amount left, because this should be just enough to do the bicep, forearm, and bell assembly. Put that down, and I'm going to check this one. Okay, well, let's get started on that. And then for our speed up video, I'm probably going to do taking off all the tape, because all that stuff I taped up the other day, it's now been a day or so. It should be enough time that I should be able to take that stuff off. And then let it air dry the rest of the way. Now for our shoulder bells, we have to put one snap right in the top here. And I'm going to put a snap on each side here for the strap. Some people take the strap that goes across the bicep and they just glue it right into the armor. I hate to do that because sometimes it gets frayed, sometimes it gets stretched, sometimes you got to replace it. I always like to use any kind of fabric connector. I like to use snaps. They're really not noticeable, and it gives you the ability and the flexibility to swap them out if it ever goes bad or ever has an issue. So I'm going to do that. Now these bells I'm not actually thrilled with. They have a couple of defects in them, including some dimples. I did get a replacement set from another person in the 501st. These are Anavos bells. But these are much, much, much bigger for some reason. As you can see here, they're about 20 or 30% bigger. And they're, again, a slightly different finish. I'd like to keep to the same armor for the entire build and not have to use these other bells. So I'm going to keep those as spares. but I'm going to go ahead and put the snap plates in here. So I'm going to do, what I'm going to do, just to save time and so you don't have to sit and watch me do all this. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention is, when I put the snap here, let me show you the whole assembly. And what I'll do is I'll do one side. I'll do the snap for here, the one for the bicep and the one for the forearm. Why don't we choose the left side? And then I'll do the right side in the speed up video just to save time so you don't have to sit and watch me do it twice. But basically, what I like to do is put a snap here, an associated snap here, and then one on the forearm, usually somewhere around here. And that keeps all these three pieces together, almost like a shirt. And what I do is I use one strap. I'll take one piece of material, and I'll put a snap here to go onto the shoulder. I'll put one here to connect it here. I'll put a snap here to connect it to the bicep. And then I'll put a snap at the end to connect to the forearm. So it's one strap that goes down the entire length of the arm, from the top of the connecting strip from the back and the shoulder strap that connects there, to the bell, to the bicep, and then all the way down to the forearm. And I think this is the method that I've been using for quite some time, and it's really worked out well, because then if you ever need to, you have one strap you have to replace. And if you have to make adjustments, you just replace the strap and you can make the adjustments and put the snaps in different places. I find that works very well. I could also do two snap plates here and then another, and then do the snap here. One from here to here on the bicep, and then another one from the bottom of the bicep to here. Again, that's just more snap plates. It's more complicated. I don't know if I need to do that. I'll see about doing the one strap. And if that doesn't work, I could add those extra snap plates and then use the standard 3-inch ones that I use for everything across the board for this. But I think I'm just going to do that for now. I'm going to do the one snap plate here, one in here, and one over here. And we're going to use the same method that we used for the other snap plates. So I'm going to get some magnets together. We're going to use the magnets. We're going to use the tape. We're going to use that entire same procedure that we used before for the midsection. And in order to be able to do that, I'm just stealing some magnets here so I have them ready. And we can start doing that. So again, for this one it's 3, this one's 1, and this one's 1 as well. So let me get the plates ready that I need to use. And I'm going to put that right there so that there's a strap that goes from here to here. And it's going to be like this. Let me get a strap together here. I'm going to have to make one that's exactly the right size. This one's only 3 inches, but it's going to be like this. And then the strap's going to come out and then connect over to this side. But I'm going to have to make one that's exactly that length, and I'll do that later. I'll make one that's exactly the right length to reach across the entire thing, like this one here. It's going to go like this to here. I'm going to leave it kind of taut because then it stretches around this and gets caught in that little clip that I added. I don't know if you saw that in one of the sped up videos. As a final step, I melted and bent a little clip that I put in the bicep piece. So I'm just going to glue this here, put some magnets on it to hold it, and then I'm going to glue the piece in the top here. So let me just, again, I'm going to make a frame in that spot. Let me just size it up by eye here. I think I'm going to do it long ways like this. Because I want it right up against the edge there. Let me make that little frame. So again, I'm making a frame in like glue. I try to leave the middle empty because I don't want to get it coming through the snap if I can avoid it. Put the glue aside. I'm going to take this, I'm going to kind of rub that in there. sure I get that in there very good. Squish it around a little bit. Make sure it's adhering right to the edges of this snap plate. Got a little coming through the middle, but I'm not that concerned. It's only a small amount. And I'm going to tape it, and I'm going to put the magnets on the edges. Now again, I'm going to squish it around a little with my finger. Just making sure I get that glue spread around. I'm going to put the magnets on, just to give it a little extra pressure to hold the areas next to the snap as best as possible, because those are the areas you really want to have some coverage and you want to have some pressure. Okay, so we're going to leave that. We're going to start on the other side here. I'm going to do the same thing. Going to make a little frame. Again, I'm very generous with this. It does leave a little bit of a mess afterwards. It looks a little messy, but I can tell you it holds like you wouldn't believe. You'll never get these off, which is a good thing. You want to make them as permanent as possible, and permanent fixtures inside the armor. So I'm going to take one of these. There's a little bit of some fabric here. I want to just snip that off here. Hold on. Make sure that's clean. I'm going to squash that down right in that same spot, right against the end of the armor. Actually, for this one, I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to flip it around. I want it to be a little closer to the edge. Be careful. Pull this out and flip it around. Yeah, I'd like it to be a little closer to the edge there. I'm going to squish that down gently. Try not to get glue on my hands. I want to get that extra fabric out of there. Okay, I'm going to tape it. And squish it around a little more once I got the tape on there. Get that more to the edge. That's a little farther from the edge than I wanted. Okay, let me put that on there, make sure I don't have glue on my hands. I'm going to squash that down. And now we're going to put the magnets. Get 4 of them here. Squash that down. Make sure I don't get any coming out the side there. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to do the last one, which is right in the middle. Right in the middle on the top, I want to put a nice one. I have that ready. Get that ready. Make sure it's trimmed. There's no extra like fabric floating around there. I'm just going to check that it snaps really well, because this one's critical. I want to make sure I get one that snaps really well. snap and just test this, making doubly sure, because this one's a critical joint. I want to make sure the snap is good. Okay, that's a very good one. Okay, good. Again, I'm going to do a frame again. Again, I do it very generously. I like to make sure it really stays in there. Press that down. Now we get the tape. And I'm going to make sure that presses down right into that groove there. So let me just make sure I'm getting it right in the middle. Get our magnets. Okay, so now we have 3 snap plates in the shoulder bell. I'm going to put that over to dry. And get some more magnets here just to have them as that's drying. Okay, now for the bicep, I put that somewhere around here. I want to make sure that it's exactly lined up with where the one is for the shoulder bell. And this is going to be the left one, so it's going to be on this side over here. So I'm going to make a frame there. Again, I'm going to check, I'm going to double check this snap. Make sure it snaps nicely. Yep. I'm going to put that right about there, just so that that connects well with the bicep, the shoulder bell. Let me get the tape on there. Just with my finger, I'm going to squish it around, make sure that that fabric is really getting into that glue so it adheres to it very well. Get some of our magnets here. A little too strong. I actually jumped there. Okay, I'll hit that right in there. Press down a little bit, make sure it gets a nice seal there. I'm going to do the same on the other side. This one I got to loosen the tape a little bit. Need a little more slack here. Okay, I'm going to get the 2 more magnets. And get that on the back here. Oh, oh, they jumped. We've got to do it again. These magnets are very strong. They like leap like jumping beans. Here we go. Get that in there. With these 2 here. Okay, that one's all set. Now we got to make sure that we line that up so that if we want that to connect to here, we're going to want that strap somewhere in this area. Some people put it right here, and you can do that as well. We can put another strap here to here, and that would be a separate strap. I like to just do it like one big line, and I like to keep this so that it's in line with the line. So I'm going to do it more like right around where the left indicator is right here, so that it's about there, and that should keep it so that that strap connects to there and keeps this in place. And also we're going to have some padding to stop this from turning, so I'm just going to put it right where that left symbol is on here, and that's the appropriate spot for this piece. Let me get the glue ready. Again, I'm going to test one of the snaps, make sure it's working okay. The last thing you want to do is put in a snap that doesn't work well. You want to make sure it's a nice working snap. I'm actually going to put that right about there. We do have a little fabric there. I should have snipped that off and put that. And I think that lands really nicely there. Got tape here. I'm going to leave a little more slack this time so I can the magnets on a little easier. I'm just squashing that down with my fingers, just squashing the glue around. I'm going to put my magnets on here just to give it that a little extra hold as it's drying. Oh, it jumped. Like that. Squash that down a little with my finger. Just make sure we get a little bit of hold on both sides there. Okay, well there you have it. We got all these 3 pieces done. I'm going to do the same for the other bell, the other forearm, and the other bicep. Let me bring those over so we can get that going, and I'll do that as a sped up video, just so you don't have to see me repeat the same thing. Now, what I'm going to do now is just show you what these look like. This was one I took all the magnets off just now to take the magnets to do those. I'm just going to show you what it looks like now under the tape. I'm just going to carefully remove the tape. And you'll see that they're on there really, really well now. And I'm going to take the tape off to let it fully air dry. Sometimes some of the stuff under the tape will not fully dry. You want to make sure that you're letting air get to it and that you're drying these out fully. And even at this stage, after only a day or so, these are in there pretty much forever. These snaps are not going anywhere. They become like part of the armor. Between the glue and the way they set, it's going to be very hard to get these off. Which is why you want to test the snaps. You might have seen me when I was making them, test each and every one of them to make sure that they're working appropriately. And I think I can, let me just make sure this one's on there good. Now, again, I can test this one just to see. You see that it's in there pretty good. Still maybe has a little drying to do, but if I put a snap on there, I can pop that off and that snap plate's not going anywhere. That snap is now part of the armor and it's just there. And that's really the goal here, is to make sure that these are now part of the armor. They're built into it. You'll have these here to go back to, and if you ever have any breakage or anything, you just replace the straps. You can just make a new strap and put a new strap in there. But those plates are really pretty much going to hold nearly forever. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take off the rest of the tape off the rest of the pieces, let them fully air dry, make sure that they're fully dry all the way through. And I'm going to do the shoulder bells and the bicep and the other forearm that I'll make a strap for in another video down the line when I do the final assembly. I'll measure that out and make the snaps and the strap appropriately so that it reaches all the way down to the forearm. Well, thanks everybody. Again, thanks for joining me for the ECG Armory, and hopefully we're almost there. I'd say about 2 or 3 more episodes, and we'll finish up the helmet. Start doing the final assembly, and you'll see how this is all coming together with the snaps and the straps, and we'll be ready to go. Thanks everybody. See you next time.